How you guys doing today?
Thank you.
Good. Like she said, my name's Nate Watts. I'm the quality control manager at Victory Archery. I also do all the prototyping, R&D, testing. So I get to play with all the new stuff, design the componentry, help design the arrows. So when you guys see new stuff that comes out, and we've got new knock bushings and new points and stuff like that, a lot of times I'm the one that got to design that stuff for the new arrows that are coming out. I've been with the company for about 13 years. Prior to that, I was in the military. I was a helicopter crewman, door gunner for the U.S. Navy. Got out and worked in a bow shop for about a year and a half, and then ended up getting an offer with Victory Archery to work as a manufacturer. So I've shot a bow since I was a little kid. So I've seen the industry from the archer's perspective. I've seen the industry from a bow shop perspective. So shop owners, I feel your pain when it comes to dealing with customers and manufacturers and everything that goes with. And I've seen the industry from the manufacturer standpoint as well. So I got to experience it all in the last, I don't know, 35 years that I've been, shooting a bow. So this year we came out with 3 new arrows. The one you guys are really gonna like, especially here at JVD, is the new VX27. So this arrow here, like I said, is our new VX27 series. It is the lightest 27 series arrow on the market. So 200 spine arrow, 8.8 grains per inch on this thing. Okay, it's gonna come standard with a unibushing and a 245 knock. Let me see here, right there. So you guys can see, so 25 grain unibushing, and then it's actually, so this is, all right, it's gonna come with the IP6 series knock, so you're gonna be able to shoot a 245 diameter knock, not the 166. Our original VTAC 27 uses the 166 knock, and that can have a little bit of torque issue on there. So we wanted to increase the diameter of that, so you'll be able to run the larger diameter knock on the new VX27 bushing. So the points, you're gonna get 100 or 150 grain point, but the back of that point is threaded. So if you want to add the back weights from the 245 back weight system that we have, you can make, take it all the way up 250 to 300 grains if you want to. What we're seeing is a lot of guys are running that lighter weight point, especially going to an 8.8 grain per inch shaft. Very fast shooting arrow. They're starting to use it for outdoor stuff, not just indoor stuff, because it does shoot so fast and you've got that line cutting capability. But for you guys, Vegas round and JVD, this is gonna be the one you're really interested in right here. So 2026, that's what we've got coming in the large diameter. We also released a new micro diameter arrow, which is gonna be the VLR. So 166 diameter arrow. So 253, 350, and a 400 spine arrow. So what we did is, last year we had the HLR, the Hunt Long Range, which we used our 1.5K weave on a 204 diameter arrow. So we took that same technology and put it in a 166 diameter. So you got a micro diameter arrow with the 1.5K weave on there. So 250, 10.5 grains per inch, down to a 400 at 7.7 grains per inch, 31-inch arrow. This is gonna come standard with our Shock TL knock, but the target points that we had already, so the VAT PT, the XL target point will fit this arrow. So if you guys wanna run this arrow for target setting, we do have the target points, 80, 100, and then the 120, 140 grain as well. So a lot of guys are super excited about this thing. The fact that we took the 1.5K weave, and so actually, let me talk about the 1.5K. So some people say they think it's a tighter knit weave. It's not really a tighter knit. 1.5 mean there's 1,500 strands per toe. Okay, our 3K is 3,000 strands per toe. So if you look at our carbon in the weave, you can see the little squares on it, right? So each toe is one of those little squares. So on the 1.5, there's 1,500 threads in that toe versus the 3K that has 3,000 threads per toe. Now, if you do a 1-inch square of that, there's going to be more toes per square inch on the 1.5 than the 3K, which means it's a smaller pattern, but it's not a tighter knit pattern. It is a lighter weight pattern, which is how we're able to get the weight down on the 1.5 versus the 3K. But there's a misconception that it's a tighter weave. It is not a tighter weave, it's just a different weave, and there's more toes per square inch. So that's kind of one of the things that a lot of people think, oh, it's tighter. It's really not tighter. And then the last arrow I'm going to talk about today is our new rival. So this arrow, super unique in the fact that it is a 225 inside diameter. Okay, so we have a 204, which is our HLR RIP series 3D HV. We've got the 245, which is our V-Force TKO, V-Force target shaft. So this is going to fall right in between those. So this is going to come with a 7-grain stainless steel bushing that allows you to shoot the IP5 204 diameter nock. Going to come with a 30-grain RPS insert and a 20-grain back weight. So we haven't designed any target points for this as of yet. There's been a lot of questions about that. This is brand new for us this year, brand new diameters, so we had to design the bushing, the insert, everything like that. But that's not to say that we can't design a target point for this. So if you guys do want to shoot this in a target setting, that's probably going to be an option here coming in the future. Cool thing about this arrow is it is going to come in at 32 inches. So it will be the longest arrow that Victory offers as of right now. It's going to be the Rival X, which is plus or minus 2,000ths, and the standard Rival, which is going to be your plus or minus 5,000 straightness arrow. But 32 inches on this, 1.5K weave on the outside. You'll be able to get this in a 253, 354, and 500 spine. So a lot of guys that are shooting Olympic recurve trad style that need that 500 spine, they're going to be able to shoot this arrow because of the fact that it is 32 inches and it is going to be down to a 500 spine, and you're only at 6.9 grains per inch on that. So that's kind of the new lineup for this year, you know, the new additions. Everything else is going to remain the same. So you guys that are shooting your VTAC 23s, that's not going anywhere. Somebody said that they thought we were going away from the VTAC 23. That stays. VAP, VXT, 3D HV, all that stuff still stays. Okay. So before I talk about spine, do you guys have any questions on the new arrows?
Is there much difference between the VAP arrows you do at the moment and the VLR?
So the inside diameter is going to be the same. Yes, the 166. The only difference is it's going to have the 1.5K weave, where our standard VAP is a unidirectional, and then our VAP TKO has a 3K. So cool thing about this is it's going to be a little bit heavier than the standard VAP, but it's going to be lighter than the TKO. So it's going to fall in between those two as far as the weight goes.
Would you recommend say, I know maybe don't folks looking for the 50-meter range, so would they work?
This would be a phenomenal arrow for that, absolutely. And you know, you've got your 80, 100, 120, 140 as far as the grain weight point. So you can really, you know, up spine, down spine, play with that. Like I said, it goes to a 400 spine on this one, on the new VLR. So you'd be good to go on there. Yep.
You were still like spine aligned on them, the gibbers?
Oh yeah. And we're going to talk about spinal line here in a minute too, because there seems to be a lot of questions about that lately. Any other questions before I start talking about spine alignment? No? Okay. So, spine alignment. Who knows what it is? Go.
That's the weakest point of the weakest spine on the shaft.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Anybody else?
The stiffest.
The stiffest axis. Okay, so there's been some videos come out recently, and people don't seem to understand about our spine alignment marking. So when we build an arrow, I mean, we control our carbon from start to finish, and every arrow comes out. And when it comes out of the rolling process and it's cured, every arrow gets proof loaded, which is going to get flexed. Make sure it doesn't break. You know, they flex to like 8 inches. I mean, really, and yep, doesn't break. And then it goes in for spine alignment. And what's going to happen is there's going to be 2 rollers and a pneumatic arm. It's going to press this down. Now, everybody knows that when you flex an arrow, it's going to rotate to your weak axis. All right. So if this arrow is under tension and you roll it, you'll feel it snap. It'll boom, boom, right? So what we do is we mark 90 degrees from the weak axis. Okay. That gives you the stiff axis of arrow. So exactly 90 degrees from that weak section. So we'll mark that. That's going to give you your stiff axis of arrow. Not high spine, but stiff axis. Now, we did testing. Now, your high spine is going to fall on that stiff axis. The stiffest part of your spine will fall on that stiff axis. But when you set that up and you shoot that out of a compound bow at the 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock position, as long as it's stiff axis, the arrow is going to react the same coming out of the bow, right? So on this guy, my spine alignment marking, I've got my cock vein lined up with that. So basically what that says is if I shoot that arrow and I draw that and it's at 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock, that arrow is going to react the same coming out of the bow. Trad bow, Olympic recurve, so you're going to do 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, right, for your stiff axis. And it's going to react the same coming out of that bow. Now, here's the thing. So we put this marking on here to let you guys know, okay, this is the stiff axis of arrow. Now, as long as all your arrows are fletched identical to each other with regards to that line, right? So I set my knock, and they're going to come from the factory. The knocks are going to be turned to be in line with the spine alignment marking. As long as I fletch all of these arrows exactly like each other, they're all going to fly very consistent with each other, right? But somebody pulls the nocks because they're going to cut an inch off the back end. They're not paying attention to where they put that knock back in. Now all of a sudden your cock vein doesn't fall on that stiff axis line. You know, one's going to be right there, another one's going to be there, another one there. Now you're going to have an inconsistent grouping of arrows. So to take the guesswork out of it, we put that mark on every single one of our arrows. You know, if I could have brought my displays down here, you'd see that every arrow that we sell, spine alignment marking, spine alignment marking, spine alignment marking. So every arrow that we sell is going to have that spine marking on there. And that's just a reference for you guys. Do you have to fletch the cock vein on the spine marking? No. You can fletch it however you want to fletch it, as long as they're all fletched exactly like each other. Okay, now we found that stiff axis out of a compound, you're going to get the most consistent grouping on your vertical axis, right? Because the way compound bow works, the cam system, it's going to kick your arrow up and down on shot. On a recurve, stiff axis performs best on a horizontal axis, because when you shoot a recurve, you know, I'm not great. I can shoot a recurve, but sometimes I pluck the string, but your axis of arrow on shot is on the horizontal axis. So to combat that, you want the stiffest section of that in line with the way the arrow is going to flex coming out of the bow. Compound, up and down, recurve, horizontal, left and right. But as long as all your arrows are fletched identical to each other, so say you wanted to fletch all your arrows 90 degrees from that, as long as the cock vein is the same on all 12 arrows that you get in a dozen, they'll group with each other. Now, I've done this. I took a dozen arrows, brand new out of the package. I did 6 with the cock vein on the spine marking, and then 6 with the cock vein 90 degrees from the spine marking. Same 12 arrows, and shot it at 50 yards, and I got 2 different groups of arrows. So still within an inch of each other, but on the target, there's a group here and then a group here. And that was the ones in line with the spine, the ones 90 degrees from it. strip those vanes off, fletch it in line with the spine, reshoot those arrows, and now they all group the same. So a lot of people spend a lot of time nock tuning, right? How much time do you guys spend nock tuning? No? You're like, no, I don't even deal with it. There's a lot of guys that still do. What you'll find is this will probably take, for the guys that do nock tune still, this is going to take 90% of the work out of it. Yeah, they're still going to, there's always room for error. So on average, at about 10%, you might have to tweak the nock a little bit. But for the most part, this is going to alleviate a lot of the additional work that goes into tuning an arrow. And that's just by looking at the spine marking, saying, okay, yep, stiff axis has already been marked on this arrow. I know how this arrow is going to react coming out of a bow because that thing's marked. Now, please keep in mind, that is at full length. Okay, when you start cutting an arrow down, what happens? Gets stiffer, right? Now, you take a 32-inch arrow and you cut it down to 26 inches, it's a lot stiffer, right? So, I do recommend double checking your spine because that spine can shift a bit as that arrow's trimmed down. But what I've seen, I mean, it's still gonna be very close to that spine marking. I mean, it might be 1 or 2 degrees off, but for the most part, I'm not good enough to tell the difference. So, I mean, I'm not a competition target archer. I'm a big hunter. I've done that my whole life. I like 3Ds and hunting. But for me, even out at 80, 90 yards, I can't tell the difference when I cut that arrow down. That spine might shift a bit. I can't see the difference. But you guys might be able to. Like I said, I'm not good enough to see that. So, do we have any questions about spine? Yes.
Yeah, someone with a 25-inch.
Okay.
No, what would be your best? It's very frustrating because I always buy arrows and I always keep on changing my spine because whatever they say is not correct.
Okay, what are you pulling poundage?
Well, I was 36 and now went down to 32.
Okay.
You recurve.
Yep.
Yeah.
Draw length.
25-inch.
25-inch arrow or 25-inch draw length?
What's the difference?
Yeah, what's the difference?
It is.
So,
No, I think it's.
so you got a draw length, right? And you're 25 inches. You're not going to shoot a 25-inch arrow, right? You're going to shoot a 26-inch arrow.
Essentially, what's the difference between?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know, I get you. Yeah.
Because your bow's going to stack differently. And so what, you're 30 what? What was your poundage again?
32 right now.
32 at 25.
Yeah.
Right, so you pull that 25 inches, you're at 32 pounds. Do you know your arrow length?
No, that's my arrow length. Sorry.
Okay, so do you know how
25 inches is my arrow length, not my.
25 inches is your arrow length?
Yeah.
What is your draw length?
But I guess it's about 24.
24, okay. So, and you've checked your poundage at 24 inches, and that's what you're at is the, okay. So for you, 25-inch arrow,
700 spine.
I was gonna say you're in between a 7 and an 8.
I have between a 650 and a 1,000, and right now the 1,000 is tuning better for me, and I don't know why.
The 1,000 is?
Yes.
That's okay.
That tune's good for me too.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
What limbs you-
Like every torque
What kind of limbs are you running?
Well, I had the Sebastian flutes, but right now I'm on the. Ooh, I forget the ones I'm on currently.
Because if you're shooting a faster limb or a slower limb, that's gonna make a difference too.
I do have 2 different brands, which is also new.
Okay.
Yeah, switching between is also different length of string.
Yeah, that's the only one you get.
I also found switching to aluminium carbons helped a good deal than just carbon straight because they're a little bit heavier. That the bow doesn't sound like it's dry firing.
But how would you test the spine that you're talking about to see where the stiff side is on a short arrow? What is
You
the best
just
way to do it?
so Coops Bowsmith is a company that makes a spine tool that is, so you guys have seen the Ram spine tester, right? That's been the one that's been on the market forever, right? Well, there's a guy called Coops Bowsmith, and I actually ordered his spine tester. I liked it better than the Ram. And the reason is they're using extruded aluminum, so it's easier to keep everything in line. You can move your wheels in and out. Now, you're not going to get a true spine reading because it's not measured at 28 inches. And ASTM standard states this spine is measured at 28 inches. But you can shorten that, check your spine, and it's going to tell you what, how stiff it is. And you can make sure that all your arrows are consistent with each other at that point, right? But yeah, once you get shorter than 28, you can't get a true spine reading. But like when I'm checking bolts and stuff like that for testing, I'll just shorten that thing so I can make sure that the spine is still, within 1 or 2 thou of each other in a group of arrows. But what grade point are you running in the 1,000 spine? 80?
No. It's between 80 and 100.
Yeah.
But it was a bigger one. I cut it down because I think it was the 120s, and I cut
Mhm.
it down. I think there's.
But your 800 spine, you're running a heavier point, right? To weaken the spine enough?
Well, those I was using those with the 36 pound.
Okay.
So it's a little different of a setup, but
Okay.
I couldn't get them to tune, so I ended up going back to my old setup because I was like, well, at least the tune's better, and I'm shooting better groups. So yeah. Anyway, I just
Yeah.
because it's like very frustrating. I think for even when I go to a shop to try and buy spines, they don't want to cut them down for me. And then it's like, well, I can't even test these out, so I just keep buying spines, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's a lot of shops don't have
I get on their
a
end.
bunch of arrows, cut at that length. That is a short draw length for sure. But, if you run into an issue like that and you contact us at the factory, I've got a bunch of arrows kind of just laying around, or I know people that have arrows, similar setups that, shipping overseas can get expensive for sure. But there are shops over here that, we could recommend, hey, go check these guys out. And they probably have some stuff that, they specialize in this type of thing, and help you out that way as well. But yeah, shoot us an email, info@victoryarchery.com, or I brought some business cards for you guys as well. Like I said, I'm the quality control manager. So if you guys are having issues with an arrow or something, get a hold of me and I can take a look and see what we can do for it. But yeah, any other questions?
What do you think about the bending test where you push the arrow from both ends to bind the weak axis?
We don't push it from both ends. We use a pneumatic arm, and it does the same thing. So that's the fastest way to find your stiff and weak axis. Yep. But I used to take an easy press before I worked for Victory Archery, and you put an arrow in that thing and you put it on the ends and start squeezing, and whichever way it bent first, okay, that's the weak axis. 90 degrees from that, your stiff axis, cool. So yeah, it's very similar test, but we just used rollers and a pneumatic arm because there's less chance of damaging the carbon. So when you put an arrow in a press, if that arrow's not square, you can crack your carbon, right? So now you've got a damaged arrow. But if I put that thing on two, composite rollers and have a pneumatic arm that comes down, there's not going to be any damage to that arrow. So I'm not risking my hard-earned money to check it that way. Anybody else?
What's the tolerance of the spine?
What's that?
What's the tolerance of the spine?
So it's plus or minus 15 thousandths. So for a total of 30,000. But yeah, it's 15 thou, plus or minus 15 thou, or plus or minus 1 thou on, plus or minus 1.5 thou. Yeah. So it's, our spine tolerance is pretty good. And on our weave arrows, our spine tolerance is really good, and the spine concentricity is phenomenal. So, it's great on our unidirectional carbon, but you start getting into our weave, just because it allows us to build a more consistent arrow, it's phenomenal.
I call it science.
What's that?
It's like science.
Oh yeah, there's a whole lot of science. So I had no clue when I started with this company how much technology and science went into building an arrow. You know, it's like I grew up shooting arrows, and it's like, oh, okay, one arrow's not better than the other. Well, let's just shoot them. And the thing I love about Victory is the technology and the science that goes into it. So we're owned by Mitsubishi, which means we get to play with a bunch of different carbon, right? So there's other companies that build arrows that purchase their carbon from Mitsubishi. So our competitors buy Mitsubishi carbon, but they have to go through a list. Okay, this is what we have, right? And they say, okay, we're gonna take this one, and this one. Well, we can look at that list and go, I don't like any of that. Let's make a new carbon. So, you know, that's how we were able to build an 8.8 grain per inch, 200 spine, 27 series arrow. Because we can look at that and go, we don't like anything that's on that list. Let's make some new stuff, right? So we've got the engineers to do that. We've got the capability of playing with stuff like that, which makes it a lot easier for us to shift on the fly. Say there's a specific carbon and the country runs out of that carbon, right? Well, other companies have to go, oh no, what are we gonna do now? Like, we have to find an alternative. We say, yeah, we'll make an alternative. So we don't have to deal with the stressors that other companies have to deal with when they're just looking at a list of carbons that we offer them, you know, or Mitsubishi offers them. So yeah, we're very fortunate in that. But yes, there's a lot of science. Yeah, way bigger than my brain, bud. Yes.
In terms of forgiveness, would you say like unidirectional or weave would be better?
So we found under high-speed photography that the weave recovers in about half the distance of a unidirectional carbon. It just allows it to recover faster on shot. And that translates to a flatter shooting arrow downrange because it's not wasting energy as it's recovering. So it recovers quick, and then that translates to flatter shooting downrange. Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Do you have some of the same technology that you're talking about in these arrows in lower spine arrows, so down at the 800 range?
Not yet. Just because the weave, it makes it stiffer. So the base layers, even adding this, trying to get to that, you know, 700-800 spine. Not that we haven't tried. I mean, I have on the VAP TKO, so we offer that in a 500 spine, and I have a prototype 600 spine that we haven't offered, just because it's very hard to build, and that's the weakest weave shaft that we've built yet, is a 600 spine. And our factory didn't like it because it was hard to build them and build them straight. Okay, so there's arrows that we've tested and designed, and you know, we've worked on a 123 diameter arrow, and we've gone back and forth because one version will be great, but the straightness is bad. The next version, the straightness is good, but the outside diameter got way too big. So why would we offer something in that small of an inside diameter that matches a current arrow outside diameter? It just doesn't make any sense. So there's a lot of stuff that we've designed and tried that gets scrapped because we can't bring it to market and give you guys a quality product. And we're not gonna release something that's not top tier. You know, our consumers deserve the best arrows we can make. And we're not gonna release something that's subpar. So not that we've stopped working on it. It's just trying to find, you know, like I said, test different materials and say, okay, if we use this resin and this fiber and all that stuff. So they're still playing with it, but yeah, it's definitely a lot harder to make that weave arrow in the lighter spines. Yeah, thanks guys.